Hey, my name is Jesus Castello from rubyguides.com, and in this video you're going to learn about the fetch method in Ruby. Before I show you exactly how the fetch method works, I want to show you why do we need the fetch method. And I'm going to do that using an example. Right here I have this hash of foods, very good food. And normally if you want to access one of these items, for example, let's say we want some bacon, well, you will do it like this: foods, bacon, right? And then we get, as you would expect, 100. Why? Because that's the value for the key bacon. And of course we can do the same for apple, and as you can probably guess, we get 200. So that's all good and fine, but what if we want to get some other food that's not available inside our hash? Well, let's see what happens. Foods, chocolate. What do you think will happen? You probably already know. We get nil. So what's the problem with nil? Well, the problem with nil is that we get the no method error if you try to call a method on nil, right? So you might be saying, hey, give me this food, the value, the price, the stock for this food, and then I want to know something else. I want to do it times 10, for example. It's some kind of algorithm or calculation or business rule that requires you to get this value and multiply it by 10. So if you do that with bacon, that's all fine, right? We get the expected value, as we can see here. But what if we do that with an inexistent element, with the nil? We get the no method error undefined method for nil class. Because, why? Because nil doesn't know how to handle this, right? Nil is just an empty object that signifies nothing. What can we do? Well, one thing you can do, of course, is checking for nil. You can say, is this value nil? You can use nil question mark, or you can just check for the value. So you can do if that, then do whatever, right? That's one way to do it. But there is another way, and that's where fetch comes in. Let me show you how to do this with fetch. We get foods.fetch bacon, and this works the same way. As you can see, we get 100. Nothing surprising there. But now if we do foods and we do, instead of bacon, we do chocolate again, and we know chocolate is not in the hash, what do you think we happen now? Let's find out. There we go, we get an exception, but this is a very different error than a no method error. This is a key error, and it's very specific. What I like about this exception is that it's very specific. It tells you exactly what's happening. It tells you that a key was not found, and this was the key that was not found. So when you run into this problem, now you will know exactly where to go to fix it, right? We know that the source of this error was that this key is not available, and now you can fix it in some way. But that's not all. Fetch also has more additional features that this form of requiring items or requesting values, and that feature is default values. So right now we get a key error, but we can also assign a default value. How do you do that? By passing a second argument. So the second argument, which is optional, defines a default value for fetch. So as you can see now, we get 1. So default values are very useful because when you use a default value, then you don't have to check for nil and you don't have to worry about the value not being there because you will get this default value and you can control this default value. You can make it something that makes sense. So if you are expecting an integer, you're expecting a number, then you make the default value some number that makes sense for your application. If it's a string, then you make it a string, maybe an empty string, right? If it's an array, you can make this an empty array. And if it's some kind of object, you could use the null object pattern, which is basically like a default object specific for your kind of object that you're working with. It responds to the same methods, but with default values. So that's why fetch is super useful. And let me show you one more form of fetch because it has 3 forms, 3 ways to use fetch. Number 1 is you use fetch like this, and then when you get an not found value, you get a key error exception. Number 2 way to use fetch is to pass a second argument with a default value. And the last way to use fetch is with a block. Let me show you what you can do. We can do this, and now instead of passing a second argument, we pass a block. And as you can see here, we get the same output. So what is this block? This block is the default value. But I thought this was the default value. And you would be correct. Both of these forms are for specifying a default value. So what's the difference? What's the difference by passing the default value on this way or this way? Well, the difference is that in this form, this value is always, we could say, evaluated by Ruby. And it is more like lazy. Let me explain what I mean by that. Imagine that instead of this being a number, this is a string, like ABC. And the problem with this is that every time that you call fetch with a default value with a string, then this string will be created. So you're creating a new string, even if the key exists. So this is always being created. And you don't want to be creating strings that you're not going to use, right? And the way to avoid that is to use a block. When you use a block, then the string is only created when it's needed, when the default value is requested, when the default value is needed, right? So that's the difference. The difference is that on the first form, it's created every time, and the second form is only created when needed. So if you have something like a symbol, it doesn't matter. Why? Because a symbol is unique. It doesn't get created multiple times. If I do symbol ABC or symbol Ruby or symbol anything, the next time I use this symbol, it will be the same object. It will be the same symbol. So it doesn't matter in that case. Same with integers. An integer doesn't get created multiple times, right? 1 is 1 and 1 is 1, always. It doesn't have a different meaning, right? That's why if you have a static value like that, like a symbol or an integer, you can use this form, and that's fine. Otherwise, if you have some kind of dynamic object that gets created every time, make sure to use this third form, for performance reasons. And yes, that's the ultimate form of this fetch. So that's the fetch method. I hope you found this useful and interesting. If you did, please give me a like by clicking the like button below this video. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, do it now so you can keep getting more videos like this to help you improve your Ruby skills. Thanks all for watching. See you in the next video.